They whisper lies into your ears from the very moment you're born. They teach you that to be good means to be obedient, that love demands silent suffering, that your worth is measured by how much of yourself you give away. But what if I told you that every time you abandoned your own needs to please others, you weren't being virtuous, you were erasing yourself? That pain you carry, the resentment simmering behind your smile, isn't proof of kindness. It's evidence. Evidence that you've been trained to betray yourself in the name of love. Ask yourself, who taught you that choosing yourself is selfish? Who benefits when you never say no? These aren't virtues, they are chains. Chains that tear your identity apart, strand by strand, until all that remains is someone who lives for everyone, but never for themselves. The Stoics warned us, if you want to be unshakable, begin within. That means reclaiming the pieces of yourself you were told to kill off. It means understanding that true strength isn't found in endless sacrifice. It is found in sovereignty. And if this truth pierces through the lies you've been living, consider this your call. Growth begins the moment you stop waiting for permission to be whole. They say betrayal is sharp, sudden, unforgettable, but the most dangerous kind doesn't slice. It wears you down quietly, invisibly, over time, not done to you by others, but by yourself. It begins with the small betrayals, smiling when it hurts, agreeing to things you don't believe in just to keep the peace, saying yes when every fiber of your being screams no. No one notices because on the surface, you're still good, still agreeable, still easy to be around, but deep down, something starts to shift, something starts to crack. This is the betrayal no one talks about, the betrayal of the self. Not with violence, but with a slow, relentless denial of who you truly are. You begin to shrink, to soften, to fit into everyone else's comfort zones. You walk into rooms and leave parts of yourself at the door because you've convinced yourself that acceptance is more important than wholeness. And the most painful part, you don't even realize it until one day you look in the mirror and see a stranger staring back. It works. People praise you for being easygoing, for being understanding, for never asking too much. But beneath that approval lies a truth that grows harder to ignore. You are disappearing. You're turning into someone others can manage, not someone you can live with. And that kind of betrayal doesn't leave a scar you can point to. It leaves a silence inside you, a quiet emptiness that grows louder with each passing day. The Stoics never sought to please others. They sought truth, integrity, a life aligned with their values, not one that bends under the weight of others' opinions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one, but how can you truly be good when you constantly abandon what is true for you? How can you live in peace if the cost is your own self-respect?" This is why Epictetus said, "He who does not value himself will not think it worthwhile to do anything good for himself." Because if you don't see your own worth, you will endlessly give yourself away in pieces, hoping someone else notices them. That is the quiet tragedy. You begin with good intentions, noble intentions, but over time, they become a trap. You convince yourself that self-sacrifice is love, that silence is wisdom, that keeping the peace is peace, but it is not. Real peace is not found in other people's comfort. It is found in the stillness that comes when you honor your own voice. When you stop betraying yourself, life begins to shift. Not dramatically at first, but enough to notice. You say no, and it feels like rebellion. You speak your truth, and it feels like confrontation. You spend time alone, and it feels like exile. These feelings are not signs of wrongdoing. They are signs of awakening, signs that you are beginning to return to yourself. And not everyone will celebrate that return. Some will pull away. Some will call you distant, selfish, changed. But this is the path of sovereignty, the path the Stoics walked. To reclaim yourself is never easy, but it is necessary. Let them be uneasy. Because what they're really saying is this: your obedience made them comfortable, and your alignment now makes them uneasy. But in Stoicism, discomfort is not the enemy. Discomfort is often the doorway to transformation. Seneca reminded us, "No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have." In other words, you don't need everyone's approval. You don't need to be understood. You don't need to be chosen by the crowd. All you need is to stop abandoning yourself. That's where the shift happens. That's when betrayal transforms into awareness, and awareness becomes freedom. There is no celebration when this begins, no applause, no audience. It is quiet, uncomfortable, but necessary. Because every time you say yes to something that doesn't feel right, you teach yourself that your truth doesn't matter. And over time, your soul begins to believe it. The way back begins with the smallest acts of courage. The text you don't reply to, the conversation you don't force, the favor you gently decline, the night you spend alone without shame. These are the moments where self-trust is rebuilt, not loudly, but firmly. Carl Jung said it best, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But that privilege is not given, it is earned. Earned by saying no to what insults your soul. Earned by standing still when the world demands you bow. Earned by refusing to betray yourself for a seat at tables that were never built for you. And the more you do this, the more your life begins to feel like it belongs to you. Not borrowed, not adjusted, not filtered, yours. Yes, you may lose people, you may lose comfort, but you will gain clarity. You will begin to feel a strength that does not shout, but holds. You will stop waiting for permission to feel peace. Because you'll know that peace is not something others give. It is something you choose. And the day you choose yourself, not out of defiance, but out of respect, is the day betrayal no longer lives in your body. The day you no longer feel like a stranger in your own life is the moment you start to feel whole. Not perfect, not finished, but finally undivided. Because the real tragedy isn't being betrayed by others. It's learning to betray yourself so well that you no longer even notice it happening. But here's the power, the real power, begins the moment you notice it. The moment you choose never to go back. There's a kind of love we are taught to believe is noble, even poetic. The kind where you give everything, wait patiently, endure without complaint, and call it devotion. But what if it's not love at all? What if it's dependency, dressed up in virtue? Most people don't fall in love. They fall into need, into habit, into a quiet agreement that whispers, "I will abandon myself if you promise not to leave." We call it sacrifice. We call it loyalty. But underneath, it is often fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being needed. Fear of becoming invisible without someone to orbit around. So we pour ourselves out, hoping someone will notice the empty cup and fill it back up. But more often than not, they don't. And when they don't, we don't get angry. We get smaller. We justify. They're just going through something. Maybe if I love harder, they'll love me back. But love that demands the erosion of who you are is not love. It is survival. Carl Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Maybe that's the core of it. Maybe we seek others to complete what we haven't yet accepted in ourselves. We confuse devotion with dissolving into someone else. But real love doesn't demand disappearance. Real love requires presence, being fully, unapologetically yourself. The danger of dependency isn't just that you lose yourself. It's that you forget you ever had yourself to begin with. You start believing that your peace lives in their approval, that your worth depends on their presence, that your happiness is only real if reflected in their eyes. And slowly, without even realizing, you hand over the keys to your inner world. Now they control your joy, your sadness, your sense of belonging. But no one, no matter how loving or well-intentioned, can carry the weight of your soul without breaking it or dropping it. Dependency feels like love at first because it mimics connection. But connection built on need is fragile. It shatters the moment the other person fails to meet expectations they never agreed to. And when it shatters, it feels like betrayal. But in truth, it's just the natural consequence of leaning too hard on a foundation you were meant to build yourself. The Stoics never promised that love would be safe, but they warned us, never tie your inner state to what lies outside your control. Epictetus said, "Seek not that events should happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly." That includes how people love us. That includes the ways they stay or don't. Reclaiming yourself starts with a simple question: do I show up from fullness or from fear? Because if your presence is a mask for panic, if your giving is a strategy to be needed, it's not love, it's self-erasure, and nothing sustainable can grow from that. Real love doesn't ask you to bleed for it. It doesn't demand that you shrink, beg, or stay silent to feel safe. It meets you where you stand, respects your boundaries, honors distance. It does not feed on your wounds. Seneca, in his quiet wisdom, said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Part of that learning is unlearning. Unlearning everything we were taught about closeness, about what it means to be with someone. Closeness without clarity leads to enmeshment, and enmeshment is not intimacy, it is confusion. You start confusing their mood with your value, their withdrawal with your failure, their silence with your shame. None of that belongs to you. You are not responsible for making others whole. You are responsible for remaining whole, even when others cannot meet you there, even when they cannot love you fully. When you love yourself more than anyone else, not out of vanity, but with true presence, you begin to give without losing yourself. You begin to show up with open hands, not with hands that clutch. You start to walk away, not in anger, but in peace, when your needs are no longer being met. And the beauty of it, you stop loving for approval. You start loving because it is your nature, but not at the cost of your peace, not at the expense of your integrity. Slowly, something shifts. You stop seeking people to complete you. You begin to become so complete within yourself that relationships become a choice, not a survival strategy. You no longer look for someone to carry your weight. You look for someone who carries their own. And in that space, real connection is born, not from dependency, but from shared strength. It's not always easy to tell devotion from dependency, but your body knows. One feels like a slow, soft breath. The other feels like walking on glass. One says, "I love you and I love me too." The other says, "Please don't leave. I don't know who I am without you." And if you've lived that way for too long, maybe the most loving thing you can do now is not to give more, but to stop, to pause, to ask yourself, who am I without the weight of everyone else? Is this love, or is this fear wearing love's face? Because when you finally learn to stand in your own light, you stop asking others to hold the sun for you. That's when love becomes real, not because it completes you, but because it meets you whole, steady, and free. They tell you you're the glue, the one holding everything together, that without you, everything would break, people would fall apart, the silence would be unbearable. Maybe there's truth in that for a moment. Maybe you have been the one others leaned on, the one who never fell apart because someone else always needed you to be strong. But what happens when that need becomes your identity? When your worth is tied not to who you are, but to what you provide? What starts as purpose slowly turns into a prison. You begin to mistake being essential for being loved. But being needed is not the same as being valued, and being useful is not the same as being seen. There's a quiet erosion that happens when you live to be needed. You become a role, not a person. No longer allowed to be tired, to have boundaries, to say no, because your importance relies on your availability. And when you step back, even just a little, guilt rushes in to fill the space. You feel selfish, cold, absent. But you're not absent. You're human. You're just tired of earning your place in the lives of others by holding them up, while quietly falling apart. The Stoics believed in living in accordance with nature. What is more natural than acknowledging your own limits? Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. If your philosophy is rooted in peace, in truth, in inner freedom, then your life should reflect that. not just when it's convenient for others, but especially when it's not. You weren't born to be a service. You weren't put here to fill everyone else's emotional gaps while ignoring the cavern in your own chest. Love that only exists when you're useful is not love. It's utility, and utility can be replaced. The moment you notice that your presence is more about what you do than who you are, that's when the wake-up call begins. At first, it feels harsh, lonely, even unbearable, but clarity always feels that way at first. The comfort of being needed is seductive. It makes you feel important. It makes you feel chosen. But survival-based love isn't real connection. It's a transaction dressed up in emotional language. You provide stability, support, answers, and in return, you get the illusion of closeness. But illusions can't hold you when you're empty. They can't nourish you when you're spent. Carl Jung said, "The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents." And that doesn't just apply to parenting, it applies to anyone who sacrifices their identity just to be someone else's foundation. If love costs your freedom, it's not a relationship, it's an arrangement. And arrangements are designed for efficiency, not for soul. So what happens when you stop showing up as the fixer? When you stop answering every call, solving every problem, staying emotionally open for people who only come to you when their world is falling apart? Often, the silence that follows is louder than any praise you've ever received. Because when your usefulness fades, so does the attention. But this is not loss, this is revelation. Seneca reminded us, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." And one of the greatest adversities you'll face is detaching from the identity of being needed. The shift feels like abandonment, but it's actually rebirth. You begin to realize your worth was never meant to be conditional. You don't have to prove yourself through exhaustion. You don't have to sacrifice your needs to feel loved. You don't need to stay on call to earn connection. When you love yourself more than anyone else, not with ego, but with understanding, you reclaim your life. You measure your value, not by what you give away, but by how true you remain to yourself. You no longer seek relationships where you're only valued in moments of crisis. You no longer confuse urgency with intimacy. You start allowing yourself to be quiet, to be still, to be unavailable, without guilt. And that is the shift. The moment you realize you're still worthy even when no one needs you, that your silence still matters, that your rest is still sacred, that your presence, even when passive, carries weight. Part of knowing yourself is realizing you're not just what others demand from you. You are what you protect, what you choose, what you honor in silence. You don't need to be needed to be loved. You don't need to be indispensable to be important. The people who truly see you, who love you, not for what you do, but for who you are. They won't leave when you rest. They won't disappear when you're quiet. They remain, not because they need you, but because they choose you. So let go of the lie that says your value is measured by your utility. You are not a role to be filled. You are a soul to be met. That meeting begins the day you stop trying to be everything for everyone and start being everything to yourself. Not in arrogance, but in alignment. Not in pride, but in peace. And now, the journey doesn't end here. The clarity, the peace, the strength you've discovered, it's yours to carry into every day. You no longer wait for permission to be whole, to be seen, to be valued. You are the source of your own light, the guardian of your own soul. Walk forward with quiet confidence. Stand in your truth. Protect your peace. Choose yourself, always. And remember, the world may never understand the strength it takes to simply be whole, but you do. So pause, reflect, breathe, and step into your life, unshaken, undivided, unstoppable. This is the power of loving yourself first, the quiet strength the Stoics spoke of, and the life you've always been meant to live.